ChessDiagnostic.
Hello everybody, this is Andrew and welcome to ChessDiagnostic. I'm going to go through a game that was played in 2006 between Sergei Karjakin and Viswanathan Anand. So I was doing a test pressing. I'm a professional shirt designer, I run a t-shirt company, and I can't stop looking at some of these games that were played by Anand, so I'm just going to make a quick video. This really blew my mind, this game. I tried to do a guess the move, and I really couldn't guess any of the moves after the opening. So let's see what happens. Anand is black, e4, c5, knight to f3, d6, d4, takes, knight takes, and after knight to f6, knight to c3, we get a6, the Najdorf. A very standard opening at this level especially, but it's very popular. The strategy is quite basic. Now, white will just play on the king side, pushing his pawns, castle queen side. Black will do the opposite, push his pawns on the queen side and castle king side. So the strategy is actually quite simple. Where the complexity comes in is the underlying tactics. Now, you really have to be prepared as black to go all out. You can't play slow, you can't play solid. You really have to take a risk, and that's what Anand does here, and it really pays off. I don't even think Sergei Karjakin knew it was coming in this game. Bishop to e3, with the English attack, we get e5, standard line, chasing the knight back, and we get bishop to e6, controlling that d5 square. So after f3, solidifying the e4 pawn, and preventing the knight from attacking that bishop on e3, we see bishop to e7, preparing to castle, queen to d2. So a secret in the opening in the Sicilian Najdorf as white is stronger players always castle queenside. If you just remember that, you'll know what to do in the Sicilian as white. If you just simply prepare to castle queenside, you'll do all right. And the reason for that is that black is always a little slower in the Sicilian. Maybe just a little bit, but he's a little slower, and a lot of times, if your opponent doesn't play very accurately and aggressively, then you'll get a very strong attack. So after castles, castles, we immediately see the strategy in action of pushing pawns after the knight develops g4. So Anand knows that he has to fight really hard to stay in this game. b5, g5, and now I thought I'd bring the knight back, but actually Anand has other ideas with b4. Knight back, knight back. Now it looks like the queen could just take this pawn, but actually it's a huge mistake because, again, he's not contributing to his own attack, and he's simply opening up the queen side for Anand, which he doesn't want to do. He plays f4, trying to break open the king side again. Now, black doesn't want to take because it would activate this knight and just make his job even easier. So he contributes to his own strategy with a5. Of course, with f4, he was threatening f5, and we see f5. But Anand hits back with a4. Now, Karjakin could have just took this bishop, but then we'd see pawn takes, and he's opening up the a-file. So Karjakin plays knight to d4, trying to destroy Anand's pawn structure. And now after the knight takes, there's actually a tactical threat of knight to c6 if the bishop moves, winning this bishop. So he prevents that by immediately playing b3. Notice this is a very dynamic game. There's a lot of threats, a lot of piece interplay, and each player is trying to win with his ideas. So Karjakin defends accurately with king to b1. And now if the pawn takes, he'd simply blockade that pawn with king to a1. Instead, we see after king to b1, Anand plays incredibly accurately with pawn takes on c2. Now I did analyze that, but I decided not to play that in my own guess the move. And I thought I'd play something like a3 to just tear open everything. But it doesn't really work because after the pawn takes, then there's a lot of threats. For example, I can't take back because there would be a fork. So the knight takes, and it looks like you'd want to play something like bishop takes check, But actually that's a mistake. Anand again plays brilliantly with bishop to b3. Now this forces the pawn to take, and it accomplishes two things. It rips open the a file, and it establishes a very strong b3 pawn. So the knight closes off that a file, Anand activates his knight, and it's important for this knight to be here because it can eventually swing over to c4 and try to put pressure on this a3 knight. Karjakin tries to resume his strategy of pushing pawns on the king side, but it's actually not the right idea. Although it's dead equal at this point, it's very hard to play as white because his attack is not very fast, and Anand has achieved ripping open white's kingside position, or queenside position, I mean. Rook to a5, preparing to swing the queen over to a8, and now he's putting pressure on the e4 pawn. Karjakin defends it with bishop to g2, and now we see where the brilliance really begins. If you want to try to guess this next move, I did consider it, but I thought it would be crazy. But really, as I said, you have to go all in these Sicilian games, and Anand plays knight to c7. It makes perfect sense when you understand activity. There's really no other move in this position. If he tries to take with the rook, there's too many white pieces to defend against a queen and a pawn, and he's not active, so he's really going for activity at all costs. Something like f6 or g6 is just too slow. There's really no other move than the move he plays. So he's willing to give up two minor pieces to activate his rook. And this rook really is the final straw in this attack. After the rook is active, he plays knight to c4, and he's won at this point almost. Karjakin tries to strike back with g6, but it's really too late. And after knight takes, and rook takes a3, he's threatening mate, and there's really nothing that Karjakin can do about it except give some spite checks. Check with a knight, queen takes, so he has to give even his whole queen to try to deflect black from his attack, but it's too late. Now there's actually a mate. If you want to try to calculate it, you can. Check. The king doesn't want to take that b3 pawn. It would just make things easier. So he's trying to run away, but it's too late at this point after rook check and queen to c4. Karjakin resigned, and we have another one of Anand's Immortal games. There will be checkmate either here with queen to c2, or if the king runs to d2, we see rook check, and an amazing checkmate on e2. Surrounded by white's pieces, but at that point it's too late. So I hope you enjoyed this game. I just wanted to get a quick video out so I'm not just wasting my whole day studying Anand's games. And I'll see you in the future. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for future videos. See you in the future.